Greetings, dear soul. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so grateful to be connected with you in this moment. Even though this was filmed in a different time and in a different place, when you're at the level of your inner being, when you actually connect with your sacred higher self in the manner that this channel is doing, these concepts of time and space do not mean what you think they do. And hence, we're able to connect with you, and we're so glad that you are connecting with us as you're opening up yourself to this path of the greater you. Today, we wish to speak of the sadness you carry in your soul. It's not really your soul that carries it. Your soul is aware of these energies. It's why you express as a human being, so you can be on a plane and a density where you can release those energies, no longer carry them, so your soul can become more and feel the energies of joy even more and love even more. So the sadness of your soul isn't really your soul, but it's an energetic experience that you've imprinted and been through in many lifetimes often, but certainly in this lifetime if you're resonating with these words. And we know that this is the time of transition on the planet, so nearly everyone watching is going to be feeling part of this sadness of the soul that we speak of. Now, to get here, you may be thinking, why am I interested in sadness? I'm all interested in the happy part, the lightness and the joy that comes. And we're here to tell you that you kind of need to walk through the barriers keeping you from that joy. Causeless joy is the essence of the universe. It's the love energy that creates and binds all the beautiful connections of who and what you are. But to actually experience it, you have to move through the barriers keeping you there. This is why we say every week, clear, 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 clear. And this is why the Channel Peter is very interested when many of his people he works with say, okay, I've had this release and I had this joy for a while, but now it seems to be harder. It's more difficult. And that harder, more difficult is when you peel back a few layers until you get to your true essence. There's going to be some deeper things that you probably were not aware of because you've been able to compensate your whole life and create the beauty that you've created. And so it's kind of a dance. Sometimes you'll have digging in the dark, and other times you'll be shining in the light. And if you think, oh, I've done my clearing work, where is this? Why don't I have it all the time? Well, you don't really quite understand the powerful essence that you are and what it is you're choosing to do in this lifetime. See, this is the lifetime where you end all incarnations if you wish. That means you can not come back if you wish. It's no longer an automatic thing. And you can do that consciously before you die by doing your life review before you die. But it's not just everything that happened in this lifetime, which is a multitude. It's everything that happened in many, many, many lifetimes. Hundreds for some of you, thousands for some of you, tens of thousands for some of you, millions for some of you. It's a lot to clear. Now, you don't need to clear every single instance, but you do need to clear the energetic patterns that were created and repeated by those instances. This is where the Channel Peter finds himself today. He was very reluctant to do this channel. In fact, he was so reluctant that this is the second attempt at recording it. The first one was interrupted when his wife was starting to put some things up on the outer windows to prevent the rain from damaging the work that was being done by masons. And he laughed about that because it was so difficult for him to sit here and say, oh, let's talk about what's going on with me today, which is for him realizing the humiliation of who he had become. Yes, no matter where you are in this channel, that channel ladder, no matter where you are in this ladder of ascension, until you hit the place of enlightenment, there's going to be vast areas that you carry that are quite terrible in many ways to look and see. And even when you do reach the level of enlightenment, you won't be affected as much. But there's still the opportunity then to do work to help others and to carry things that were in the collective, the karma of your country. Yes, all those wars and invasions. Yes, you're partially responsible for those because you're part of that collective. So even when you reach enlightenment, there's much more to do and feel. And the only way to clear in many ways is to own that that is you're looking at. Now, the Channel Peter was looking at this in a very, very in-depth way when he was realizing the magnitude of horror that he was creating for his beautiful partner. Unknowingly, because that's how it had been working unconsciously. But nonetheless, it's a lifelong pattern of dominance and control. And so, in essence, even though it was very sad for him to see the pain he's caused over years, and to understand and to feel the pain, not just that he caused in this other person, but it was in himself over lifetimes, going back to when his soul first emerged. Even though that was a very difficult awareness to receive all that, he felt like he dodged a bullet. He felt like, oh, I can be done with this now. Yes, so what? I have egg on my face, and it's quite disgusting in the moment. But I was actually saved from having to do this again in another lifetime or in many more cycles, because right now the planet is at the point where ascension is possible for many people, most all of them if they wanted, but to not choose in this lifetime and then come back in another cycle on another planet and go through it again for how many thousands of years. What a relief to see that he's dodged this bullet. So what are we talking about here? Understanding an unconscious dynamic of control, or whatever it is that the unconscious dynamic is for you. Now, of course, it's unconscious, because if we were to realize just how horrible we were, most of us would stop. So we gloss over it or we turn our eyes away from it. You know, it's one thing to worry about how hunger is affecting people on the planet, but you see it on your street corners where people are literally begging. So we create all kinds of mental sets, like, oh, they're mentally ill, or something wrong with them, or they're too lazy to get a job, or whatever it is. When all it is they're reflecting to you your own lost portions of yourself, your own unconscious portions of yourself that are destitute and crying out for help. So it's not like this is one of those messages, oh, let's be happy and joyful, because you are going to be happy and joyful, of course. But there needs to be some ownership of the creation and the state of reality now, state of what we as a collective has created. There needs to be some ownership of responsibility for that. And it's not like go out and save the world. That's one method. You could do that. Probably won't get you there as quickly as you would hope. But it is like go inside and see what's inside me that has been covered up. Now, the beauty is, if you're in any relationship at all with anybody in any way, you're being reflected all the time. What it is, these dark areas are that can be cleared. You just have to see them and hear them. In the channel's case, in Peter's case, he was not able to receive it and just would respond with anger. And his wife would point these things out to him in his behavior. And so after a while, he realized, oh my God, what am I doing? I'm destroying a beautiful relationship and a beautiful life that's I've created, worked so hard to create. And then he had to face what was inside of him, which was his own actions, his own sadness, And you could do it in traditional manners and trace it back to childhood. He watched his parents do that, and that's what he did. He can trace it back to other lifetimes. He can go even way back to when he emerged as a soul. And he's done all these things and seen all these things. He's even touched the archon energy that he's allowed it to flow through him to dominate in so many ways in so many lifetimes. And in a sense, it's easy to say, oh, that wasn't me. But in another sense, it was his energy that allowed those predator energies of the archons from when we first established and had the falling out into the divisions and densities that we're experiencing now. It was he who allowed that. So there's ownership there. And now, of course, there's clearing. And that's the beauty. This clearing is for everyone. It is for you. And it's for him. Money's quite happy about that, even though it means walking through the sadness and accepting, oh my God, I've done this. And now I have egg on my face because here I am admitting to the world, oh, what a horrible person I've been, dominating, controlling, and not loving, even though I have a facade of being a healer and a helper for people for in ascension. He was very reluctant to make this video because this was what was going to come out. And so he consented to, yes, I can admit to who I am publicly. Of course, he can play the ego game. Well, look at me. I really do my work and stuff. But even that will just send him back into the same cycle. So we're here to tell you that there's much uplift coming for you. And part of that is to look in the mirror and see who you really are. And when we say the mirror, we're talking the metaphor of the relationships you're in, whether it's work relationship, your neighbor, or your lover. Doesn't matter the level of intimacy. If you're in that relationship and you have those interactions and you think you're not in a relationship with that person, you're driving down the street by and they're on the street corner destitute. No, you're in a relationship because you observed them. You brought them into your field through your observation. Just look at your relationships. That's the mirror. Yeah. And it's quite sad. If you're horrified by what's on the news and you're just addicted to that horror, like many people are, they even go watch horror movies so they can keep the numbness going because that's just how it is when you're at that level of these horrible things happening all the time. And you can't really allow them in because it means you're going to have to feel that pain, which is what the channel is doing right now on this period of his life. So most of us don't do that. We just laugh and make it, oh, it's just a movie. It's something else. Let's get numb to it. Let's keep doing that. And that's why people attend to horror movies. But really, all those atrocities are things you've committed, whether it was in this lifetime or not. We're part of that field. We're part of that collective. It's part of our karma. It may not be the normal message that we give of uplift and hope, but given where the channel is, it's a very message that, yes, you can make this. Anybody can. He's doing it. You can do this. It may be like a slog right now because we're getting close. And so we're seeing the really big energies that have been holding us back. It's so funny. The meditation group that the channel is in, several people are experiencing awarenesses of deeply profound times in other lives where they went on a course that affected hundreds, even thousands of lifetimes, where they went on a course of allowing another entity to come in and do whatever it was doing so they could sit back and try to enjoy the ride. But that's not really what happened. So now they're at that place where, oh, they have to claim their inner authority. And that's all we're asking you to do. No more gurus, not even us in this message. Your inner authority is who you're going to be. And when you allow that, then you have all the freedom. Because it doesn't really matter what's going on after that. It doesn't matter what you did before that. There's no more guilt or shame because you've had this inner authority and you realize, I made those choices. Now I'm going to make other choices that are more resonant with my beauty. Because this is the growth arc of my soul. And that is something to celebrate. So it seems like a slog. It seems like it's hard. And if that's where you're at, then love yourself. Create time and space to actually love those things that are hard, difficult, the sadness of the soul, as we called it. Even though your soul isn't sad, but carrying those energies has created such weight for you. And in the expression in this 3D reality, it is sad. Feel it, love yourself. If you can, surround yourself with others who will love you for your change, for your expression. We all want that unconditional love so badly, right? Like we said earlier, Channel feels as if he dodged a bullet because he was getting unconditional love by a partner that was allowing him to act out in these horrible ways and still be loved for it. When she finally said she had enough because she was ready to release her patterns, then he had to feel what it was because he no longer had somebody else propping him up. And that's the beauty, that's the dance, that's why, quite literally, we do relations. You've got this, you really do. There's nothing we need to tell you. We've had countless videos on clearing. The channel has all kinds of tools on its website on how to clear. They're ready. The question is, are you ready for graduate school? Are you ready for going into ascension? Are you still going to mess around with the kindergarten classes? Are you still going to be the helpless child and say, oh, I can't do this. Let me listen to other people. And that's fine. It inspires you to know that other people talk about all these goodness things. But if you keep yourself in that class of, well, that's them and that's not me, then of course you stay separate. We're here to say own your power, even if it means owning a lot of sadness. Own that it is you, that you've got this, that you can do this, that you are this, because you so can. You did not show up on this planet unawares. You did not show up without abilities. There's a lot of talk in the field of channelers. Many of them say, oh, we lined up deep to get here now because this was the good time. And it wasn't like there was an authority that decided who could come or not. It wasn't like that at all. It was who had the resonant energy, whose energy were right for what was going on this planet. And those whose energies were most right were the ones that are here. So if you're here at all, you're not just occupying space. You're not just sitting there like a lump. No, you are on the path of your transition. And it may be difficult, it may be hard, it may seem like all this stuff is distant for you, but you still have this. The channel Peter, because he deals with his ego issues, wonders why sometimes his viewership of these messages are so low. He wants to take credit for them, of course. And the reality is, the viewership is related to those who are ready to receive and those who are resonant with this type of clearing, because there's many types of clearing. There's many paths that will get you here. The question is, are you on your path? And if any of these words are resonant with you, then you'll know, okay, it's time to dig a little deeper. Sometimes it's the basic steps, because it may not be that you're ready for a deeply spiritual path. Are you ready to get sober? Right? Sometimes it starts in AA. That's where the channel started his recovery, was the Alcoholics Anonymous. Because he had to get through all that. And he learned from that the most important lesson was stinking thinking. Yes, in AA, they use lots of slogans to help you recover. And one of his favorites was stinking thinking. And so he could start to see how he would hold on to these patterns. And then he, of course, got the wherewithal by being supported by groups to feel those patterns. And then he was able to launch on his path of, I can clear. And now he helps many, many other people clear. And now he's getting to the point where there's some deep clearing that he is ready for. So there you have it. You're ready. You've got this. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It matters that you start moving in this direction because the energy is so ripe right now. And the reality is, do you really want to spend a cycle of another 1,000 or so lifetimes in another different density, going back through all this? Some of you do. But there's no punishment. It's just your own choice. This is a golden opportunity. You're on the planet. You chose this. You were the selected ones. And again, it wasn't some outside authority. It was your match of energy that allowed you to make that selection for your own personal self, which is a sign of your sovereignty. This is your time. You're taking it beautifully. And this message, even though it carries a lot of the difficulty of sadness, it's really a message of hope. Because you can get through this. You so have this ability. And then even more is open up to you. Even more beautiful expansiveness. So we're going to leave you on that moment of hope. Because you are blessed. And you are amazing. And you are expansive. Be well. Hey, you beautiful souls. This is Peter D. If you're enjoying what you've been receiving in the Becoming Awesome program, I want to turn you on to some more tools to help you get even more magnificent. You can check the links below for all the information about my Ascension Handbook Level 1, how to clearly communicate with your sacred higher self. It's available on Amazon. It's going to give you practical, step-by-step guide communicating directly to your sacred higher self, just like you see me do when I channel. Another tool is the weekend intensive we're offering. It's only $222 for the whole weekend. And you'll have the power of a group to help you clear, move charges even stronger. Let's listen to what other people have said when they've taken classes like this.
Hi, my name is Charlie Zeese. I manufacture meditation pyramids, and I'm also an author. And I've been doing a lot of research on pyramid power over the last few years. And before I took Peter's course, although I had a lot of great information to tell, I wasn't getting access to those influencers and those opportunities to get that information out to the world. But I have to tell you, after applying the techniques that I learned in Peter's course, I have now recently been given the opportunity to speak on Coast to Coast, which will be by far my largest audience ever. I've been asked to participate in a documentary on free energy and ancient cultures, and I've got speaking engagements too numerous to count at this point. So I have to attribute that to the techniques that I learned in Peter's class, Becoming Awesome. If you have a chance to take it, I would highly recommend it.
So if you're ready to embrace that direct communication with your sacred higher self, you're ready to receive awakening, you're ready to become lighter by letting go of all the dense energy you've been holding on to, consider doing it all on a weekend. Join us in my Ascension Level 1 Weekend Intensive.